Good evening, praise the Lord, everyone.
Good evening. Praise the Lord, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sister. Okay, we'll just wait for a while.
Praise the Lord, sir.
Yeah, praise the Lord, Brother Virendra. Good evening, everyone. We'll wait for Vinny sir to join.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, looks like there was a disconnection. Yeah, Vinny sir is here. We'll get started in a while. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Good evening, Vinny sir. We'll get started with a word of prayer. Let us look to God in prayer as we enter into this session. Father God, we just take a moment to acknowledge your goodness and grace upon our lives, Father. As we step into this session, we pray that, Lord, let every moment that is spent in this session be fruitful. Lord, you enable all who are joining as a participant. Lord, help them to receive, help them to learn, help them to be attentive. Lord, let there be no disconnection, let there be no hindrances. I pray over Vinny sir as he would facilitate this session, help him as well so that he will be able to, Lord, go over the content that he has prepared. Lord, I just pray that, Lord, all these things that are being done here in this platform be useful for your kingdom. Lord, as we look into this particular topic, Lord, you prepare your children to be equipped in a right way. We just are thankful for all that you do in our lives. We pray for all the students. If anyone is going through any need or any difficult times, Lord Father, you be their strength, you be their provision. Thank you for listening to our prayers. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Okay. So this is a session number 3 for counseling the children, adolescents, and youth. Today we'll be looking into counseling the adolescents and youth, as Vinny sir will be taking the session. I hope you all know Vinny sir very well, as he has taken your session already. So with that, let us bring our hands together and give him a warm welcome as he takes the session. Over to you, Vinny sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Good to see all of you. Your faces. So happy to see Elizabeth here. I'm getting a call from Benson, sir.
No, I think you can continue, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm so happy. I just came running from a meeting right now, so my mistake is that I cannot guarantee network today, so there might be fluctuation. I'm already logged in from my hotspot, so hopefully everything will go well. Anyhow, the topic that is given to me, is a very interesting topic. Also, my area of interest, which is counseling, children and adolescent. I remember last time when I took class, I was taking about lifespan development, and we looked from infancy all the way till it was from womb till tomb. Okay, and uh, we looked at different lifespan and life stages, and we studied what is the challenges, what is the conflict, what are some of the virtues that an individual learns. And when we look at counseling children and counseling adolescent and youths, now uh, these are life stages, and we need to keep in mind that the issues and the conflicts of these life stages also we have to keep in mind as we go through. Counseling children adolescent actually is a specialized course. Usually it is technically it's a 6 month or 1 year course, but I'm trying to put everything uh, like a capsule format, so you can understand the challenge that I am going through. I may not be able to cover the entire aspect, but I'm trying to see how much I can give a sort of like a overview so that you will get an idea and then pick it up from there, go as deep as possible, and then see how you can actually work on some of these areas. So I may be going, you know, sort of like a peripheral level, but there are some in-depth things which I cannot. For example, from the theoretical perspective, looking from psychodynamic approach, humanistic approach, CBT, solution focused. I may not be able to go into the theoretical perspective and how children, how we can work with children. I may not be able to go into some of the, some areas, specialized areas, like for example, special needs, and things like that. Special needs and different, trauma, abuse, street children, and all those. So you can understand it's a wide area, and it's impossible for me to actually touch all these areas in one shot. So let's see how it goes. I've been given 2 weeks, so today I'll be looking at counseling children, and next week I'll be looking at counseling adolescent and youth. So that's what my focus will be. So let me just share the PPT so that we can start. Okay. Uh, this is what I will be trying to touch on. But again, the special group is something that I don't think, maybe I will give the notes so that you can all go through it, and see how you can actually understand some of the things. And next week when you come, if there is any questions or doubts, we can actually pick it up from there and see how we can do. Basically, we are going to look at the counseling process when it comes to counseling children. So some of the things will be like it may be like refreshing your knowledge, already existing knowledge about lifespan and different, things that we have touched on. But my focus will be on counseling children. Okay. Now, when we look at, the whole aspect, or if I have to introduce the whole counseling children perspective, one thing we need to keep in mind is every child is unique. Okay. So we should not, as counselors, we should not generalize, children, or put them into one bracket, or, put them into one framework. We have to look at children, separately, individually, because development of children is not uniform. Though in lifespan you have studied stages, but every individual or every child actually goes through that in their own way. Okay. So, so we need to understand each children needs, we need to approach in a different way, or we need to look from a very individualistic, or very, from a very personalized view. We have to understand or study children, not put them in a bracket like, oh, children have to behave like that, or children should be in this stage, children should do that. We should not actually put that. That's something, that's the biggest mistake that we as adults we do. Okay. And so when we try to look at them as adults, many times, we ask questions like we are asking adults, and we expect answers from them as though the adult is talking. We cannot expect that, and that is also called as adultomorphic tendency, when we try to look at children from adult perspective. Okay. I remember one of my professor used to tell, we should never forget that we are talking to people, those who are only 3 feet. So we should always, if you have to think as a child, bend down, sit down, and then you will understand, what world they are looking at, how they are looking at adults. And that's a very important perspective, because when we are counseling children, usually we think as an adult talking to a child. Now that view, counseling may not work. And, even physically also, when we are sitting with the child, we should, sit in such a way that there is a balance. Even if the child is, maybe on top, that is also okay, because we have a natural, physical difference. So even if you're sitting down in a small chair and child sitting up, completely okay. So technically, physically and psychologically, we need to consider that we are talking to minors and children. Okay. And second thing is treating them as though everyone has same kind of development. Now that is also not good. That's actually a myth, that every child will develop in one way or same way. Every child take their own time to reach a certain milestones. Okay, I hope you understand this term milestones when it comes to developmental, stages. And every child has their own way to cope with those things also. Okay, so be careful of adultomorphic tendency and developmental uniformity myth, because this may stop us from connecting with the child. Okay, so that's one thing that we need to remember. When we look at children, there are some broader areas, or from where children can get issues, or some issues that we get from children can touch certain areas, and we should be careful. That means not just the issue that the child is bringing, but this issue may be connected with other areas. Okay, so something that we need to keep in mind when we are talking to children, or when we are counseling children. The first thing is developmental milestone. We have already studied in lifespan psychology what are different life stages, what happens, what is the physical development, what is the psychological, emotional development that takes place, cognitive development that takes place in every stages. So we need to keep in mind these milestones when we are talking to children. Many times the issues that children are bringing, or parents are bringing, may be connected to the developmental milestone. Okay, so we need to keep in mind those aspects. Second thing is the physical development aspect. Okay, when we were learning about lifespan, we were looking at how brain develops. Okay, and what is the how language develops, and how there is a physical development that takes place, which is also limited. Certain those psychomotor activities that that child has limitation. Okay, when you throw ball to a child, they may not catch like a adult is catching. Okay, so there will be delay in those physical movement or in those aspects. So sometimes those physical development also can be a reason why child is facing an issue and a problem. Okay, so from physical development perspective also we need to keep in mind. Then comes socio-functional problems, how they connect to the society, how they build friends, their social skills, all that is also something that we need to keep in mind, especially the present generation, generation which is growing up on devices. We can actually, there is a lot of research suggesting that there is a common sociological problem that we are seeing in all children. They are not able to have a social connect like a generation before. They all struggled, and because there is no much social involvement, their social skills are underdeveloped. Okay, even if you just simply go to a restaurant and a hotel, and if you see the children sitting there, you will see almost like 80 to 90% of all of them are in devices. So parents or adults are having a good time, and children are not, they are neither physically nor emotionally available in that conversation. So their social skill is actually underdeveloped. And when they go to school, when they when they are put in social environment, they don't know how to interact, they don't know how to connect, they don't know how to resolve the social issues or interpersonal issues, and and it becomes a big problem. Recently there was a uh, uh, concept that became very popular in India called as six pocket syndrome. I don't know how many of you, anyone knows about six pocket syndrome? Okay, now this six pocket syndrome actually originated from China, especially when government, took the decision of one child policy. Now, because of one child, there was a huge, uh, uh, family investment on that one child. So there is a parent, okay, father and mother, and then father's parents, okay, and then mother's parents. So there are six people for one child. Okay, and that is what is six pockets. So financially also they are strong because there are six people contributing to this one child. And because of that, there is a certain sort of entitlement that comes in. When six people are around you, always boasting you up, the child starts feeling that they are, the kings and the queens of this world, and with that attitude, they go into the world, they start interacting with the world, and that's where a lot of behavioral issues, social issues, comes into the play, where there is disrespect, to the elders, disrespect to adults, and interpersonal problem comes in play. And that's what, six pocket syndrome, which became very famous in China. Now, there is a lot of uh, uh, families having that six pocket syndrome, where is only child, and a lot of issues because of that. So socio-functional problems also is one of the area that we have to look into. Environment also plays a very important thing. The social environment that the child is growing up in, it can include the school that they study, it can include the community or the organization they are connected to. In our case, we can say the church that they are connected to, and the environment that they received, all that matters, all that shapes also children. Okay, and we need to also consider that, when a child comes with a problem, it is not just child's problem, it is an environmental problem, because that child is the product of that environment. Okay, so we need to keep in mind that aspect also, as we look at children. Then comes relationship with significant people, especially parent-child relationship, sibling relationship, extended family relationship, all that also matters, especially places like Bangalore, urban metropolitan cities. uh, Majority of all family is a nuclear family, so naturally, many of us, those who are in Bangalore, may not even know who is our neighbor. Okay, we may not even see them, not just in Bangalore, I'm talking about all the metropolitan cities. We may not even, that connection also will not be there, so that plays a huge impact, because when we look at relationship, how the child is relating to parents also plays an important role, and how parent is connecting to the child, and who is the primary support of the child and who is the secondary support of the child, that also becomes very important as the child is growing. So when we look at children, we also need to see their relationship, what is who with whom they are close to. Okay, especially places in the West, where both husband and wife are working and there is no grandparents to actually take care of children. Majority of them, they rely on nannies, who will come and take care. And naturally, the behavioral pattern, will be like the caretaker. Okay, like even in India, majority of people, those who are working abroad, there is a, now the tendency has come down, but there was a tendency where they will leave the children with the grandparents and the parents will go, and after 2 3 years they will come back and take the child and go and stay with them, and then they realize that there is no behavioral pattern of the parents. It is all, it's like mini grandparents walking in the house. So that is the, that's the uh, issue that happens when the child, especially the early years, when they are connecting to someone significant, and that influence will always be there, as the child is growing up. Then comes parenting style and attachment style. Are you aware of these two theories, parenting style and attachment style? I talked about it in when we looked at lifespan development. There are different type of parenting style. Okay, for example, there is authoritarian parenting, where it's full power. It's like a dictator ruling over the child. There is no love, only control. Okay. Then there is a neglectful parent. That means, these are also called as spoiled children. That means there is no control, only love. Okay. There is no control or there is no authority over the children, only love is showered. Rewards are showered. And, so that's the neglectful parent. Okay. Or sorry, overindulgent parent. Sorry, neglectful parent is when there is no authority and there is no love also. That is completely neglect. No, they are just left on their own. And then comes the fourth one, which is, authoritative parenting. That means there is a equal amount of authority and there is equal amount of love. Okay, so that there is a balance between love and authority. Okay, and that is a good type of parenting. So parenting style also matters when it comes to children and their issues. And again, another concept which is very important is attachment style. Okay, the early attachment with the caregiver also plays a very important role. The initial, during infancy time, how the child was connected with the parent or the caregiver can influence the behavior. So the, if it was a secure uh, attachment, then then the child will feel secure in all the relationship. But if it was insecure attachment style, then the child will feel insecurity in all the relationship that is going to come. Okay, so that is from the parenting style and attachment style. Then come affect, emotion. Okay, and in that we look at different temperament also. Some children are easygoing, some children are difficult, some children, it takes time to slowly warm up. Okay, so we also, need to look at what is their range. Are they easygoing, or are they difficult, or are they easy, or do they need little bit of warming up? Okay, so that is coming from the emotion perspective. And then the cognitive aspect, where we can actually see how they solve the problems, how they comprehend the things. Some children, they are good in actually solving the problems in the real life. Okay, some children are good, for example, you give them a video game, they are very good, but when you give the actual problem to solve, which is similar to the video game, they don't know how to do it. Okay, so that is also, that cognitive aspect, from the problem solving and the thought perspective, also we have to understand the children. So these are some of the broader perspective which can influence the problem and the challenges that the child is facing. Okay, and any questions till now? Any questions or doubts?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. Now, working with children. Now, one of the most important thing when we work with children is to build rapport with them. Okay. More than the problem that they are going through, more than the issues and concern that they are going through. One of the most important aspect, the first goal of the counselor is to build rapport. And for that, the counselor needs to be really creative. They should not, they should think out of the box, they should not get stuck in the box, because children, they are not like adults are very much filtered, they are very polished, but children can, you know uh, spring up uh, different things at different time, and it can shock us, or it can actually take us out of. So they are very spontaneous, so we also need to be ready to think out of the box to connect with the child. But rapport building is the most important aspect when it comes to working with children. So the purpose of rapport building with children, to engage the child and bring him or her to see you as a trusting and helping person. Now, a child will not understand the role of a counselor. Okay, they may not know who counselor is. So what they will be looking at is someone that they can trust. Okay, someone who is ready to help. And these two subtle messages, we are not verbalizing it. It is actually all in action. So through that action and non-verbal, we are communicating to the child that we are trustworthy and we are there to help them out. Okay, and that's the intention that counselor is having. Now, to convey the sense that you want to understand the world of the child, many times, uh, many children, they actually say that, adults are always ready to give advice. They are always ready to lecture. You in classroom also there is teacher who is teaching, and house also parents are teaching. Now counselor also is teaching. So as a counselor, we should take extra effort to connect to the world of the client. They have their own unique world. And in that unique world, they have their own likes and dislikes. They have their own choices. They have their own hobbies. Okay. And we need to get into the world. Many times, as adults now, uh, if I look at myself, if I am seeing a child who is, let's say, 6 year old or 7 year old, I am looking at a age difference of more than 35 to 40 years. Okay. Now just imagine there is a 40-year gap between the counselor and the child. And if I start to think about my memories when I am children and what I liked at that time, the child will think, though, who is this person? Okay, this is an alien. Or one of the word that they use is, oh, this person is a dinosaur. you know because our world was different, and now it is completely different. And as counselors, we should be able to navigate into their world. Okay, so technically we should also update ourselves to know what is happening in their world right now, and engage, in that language. Okay, engage in those concepts. Okay, they may be uh, uh, they may like, some animations, or maybe, some video games will be famous. There will be, certain style of talking. There will be some hobbies, and that they connect with each other. We need to get into their level to actually talk to them as though someone is in their level itself. That's a challenge. That's a huge challenge. But as counselors, that's our responsibility to get to their level. So instead of looking at them as an adult, we should connect to them child to child. Okay, and that's something that we have to learn. You know, not just for children, but even for adolescent. Okay, children are much easier than adolescent. Okay, I will talk about adolescent next week when we get into it. Children, it is still we can manage it, because they are also looking at you as someone that they can follow. Okay, so if they like you, if they trust you, then they will follow you. Okay, so we will not have much trouble connecting with a child. But when it comes to adolescent, we have to match their their worldview. To establish a relationship in a small amount of time is crucial and sometimes very difficult. Now, this is something that we need to understand. As counselors, we are running against time. Okay. Uh, Technically, what do you think? How much time it takes to build rapport with a child in usual circumstances?
First one, have friendly, opening statements like, and maybe then initial
That
15
is
20
all okay.
minutes,
I'm looking at the time frame. How much time?
20, 15 to 20 minutes it takes to make
In the
them make
actual setting, not in counseling setting, in the actual, let's say you're meeting a child out.
depends upon each child. So if they're very introvert, then it takes more time. But if they're extroverted, it's easy to pick.
Correct, correct, correct. Anyone else?
Yeah, I do agree with her. It depends on, like, we need to find out what their interests are nowadays, especially with children. And then when we start interacting with them based on that interest, it becomes more easier. Otherwise, if we act like an adult and stay, it's very difficult. It will take long time. So we need to get into their level, as you said. Then it happens like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. It depends on the child. Some children more difficult. So
Actually, rapport building, even in counseling setting, sometimes can take lot of sessions. Okay. Now we need to understand children, though they, rapport building is easy, but getting into their level, getting into their, where they don't see you as an adult, but they see as someone, as a peer, it may take lot of time. Okay. So though initial rapport is
that means
built,
to make them to open up, right, sir?
it is not just to open up.
Okay.
Child may open up in a peripheral level, like talking about themselves, but to open up about something which is deep inside, now that takes time. Okay, so though it is, something very crucial, we as counselors needs to train ourselves to build that initial rapport as soon as possible. That means from the first contact. I'm not talking about counseling. It is from the first contact. First contact may be when the parent is bringing, the child for counseling, and you're meeting the child in a open or a public space, and then from there you're taking the child to the room or wherever they are. From the first contact itself, we need to strategize and plan how you're going to build rapport with the client. So the way you observe, the way you interact, everything is intentional. Okay. Like for example, if the child is with the parent, you know, and you think that They will come with you into a room and then you can close the room and talk to them. It may not work out. Child may not go with a stranger to a closed area. Just imagine how scary it is. So, we have to strategize from the very beginning how to win the trust of the parent. And sometimes the parent also is allowed into the session, so that uh, the the child can see how comfortable parent is with the counselor, and with that we move with the child and build rapport with the child, and then finally when the child is confident, the parent moves out of the room. So
Sir,
all
even
this is strategize. Yes, I heard so. Yeah.
sir, even in talking to our own child, I have to my child I'm talking, I need to build a background, what I want to extract from her.
Yeah.
And then and make her confident. I want to know that something happened in that event or some where she went. I don't directly go to the question. I just make a background and I just intentionally ask unwanted things just to get that answer what I want from her.
Very true.
So
And in counseling, that is what is called as rapport building.
okay. Yeah.
To get into their life, we have to divert, talk about something, which is general or generic, and then, maybe play with them,
Everything.
slowly, then we get into their lives.
Yes.
Okay. So we cannot expect them to come and open up in front of us. It will never happen. So we need to build, to that place so that there is we are trying to establish a relationship. Establishing a relationship is more than rapport building. Okay. Like for example, the child comes and sits with you and you have a session and then goes out. The parent comes and talks to you, and then the child sees you talking to the parent. Okay. You think the next session the child will come and open up? They will not open up because already you have broken the trust. The child may hear or may not hear, but the child will assume that you have told everything to the parents. Okay. So very carefully we have to, set the first session, because if we even when we are, let's say, if we are the child is coming, whom you will greet first? Will you greet the parents or you will greet the child? All depends, because if the child is your client, you need to greet them first and then move to the child, interact with them first and then move to the children, move to the parents, because the child is priority. Okay. So all these are strategic moves, and in counseling, that you don't have much time. Okay. So you very strategically, you move so that in a small amount of time you are able to build connection with them. Okay, which is difficult, but if we strategize it, it is possible. So keep in mind, when you are building rapport with the client. So some points to remember. Now, children are usually scared or confused about why you want to talk to them. Expect that the child will be either confused, okay, like suddenly one day parents are taking, telling that, okay, we'll go for a walk or we'll go to a park, and then the child is landing in front of the counselor. Okay, it will be a very confused, why my parents want me to talk to him or her. Second thing, you will see clear signs of fear in the client. They will be, it's as though they are punished to be in front of the client. For example, in school something happens, what the teacher does, go to the principal's office. Okay. Now that's the same thing that they will be thinking, that they are punished to be in front of the counselor. So we have to talk about, this misunderstanding, that fear or that confusion that the child is having, and clearly, especially when, especially in India, what I see is many times parents will say, I'm not telling that we are bringing child for counseling. You simply talk to the child. Okay, I never agree to that. I want parents to tell to the children that they are bringing child for counseling. Otherwise, what will happen? There will be role confusion. Now child will be confused. Is this a tuition teacher, or is this a class teacher, or this is a principal, or who is this person? And if you tell them counselor, they may not even understand what is it. So, it is better that parents are open and bring the child, prepare the child and bring them for counseling instead of, forcing them into something that they don't want. Okay, but you can still expect the child to be scared and confused. So, very clearly we have to, tell them what is counseling, who is a counselor, and why we are, there. So misconception need to be cleared before any trust can be built. We have to clarify to them that misunderstanding. Otherwise, we cannot, even to just have a simple talk with the child will not take place. Okay, because of those misunderstandings. So first we have to read what the child is going on, and then, slowly clear the misunderstanding. It is good to ask children why they think you want to talk to them. The best strategy always is to give the control to a child. Okay, instead of you taking control and telling, okay, you are here for this, it is better to give it to the children so that they can talk about it. Okay, why you think, parents have brought you here, or why you think your teacher has referred you to me. Okay, give the control to them, let them talk about why they are here. And that is also, it will give good opportunity for you to, clear the misunderstanding that is there. Now, some aspects, that we need to keep in mind when we are talking to children. Very important is setting. Okay, for example, when you go to a kids clinic, it is not like regular clinics. There is a difference. It's child friendly environment. Okay, uh, we need to seriously think about the psychological safety of the child. Okay, like for example, a closed room without any windows. Okay, or soundproof. All that is good, but for a child, going into a dark room, or a room which is empty, can be scary. So we need to design the room, into a child friendly environment. Okay, I will talk about it as we go ahead. There are also some issues that we need to keep in mind. Communication. Okay, how you communicate or how you facilitate the communication also is something that we need to keep in mind. And also the non-threatening and empathetic style that a counselor need to have. Okay, let's look at it in detail so that we can understand what I am talking about. Okay, now when we talk about issues, it's very important. There are some issues that we need to keep in mind when we are counseling children. The first thing is play. Okay, more than talking, a child learns through playing. Okay, so we should not, limit our focus on the verbal production that the child is doing. Now we need to understand, children, they are limited in language. Okay, their language development is not complete. There will be language issues, especially in Indian context. There will be, the child may be more comfortable with vernacular and not English, so there will be a lot of confusion like that. So we cannot rely on the speaking of the child. So naturally we need to give them some way, so that we can engage. And play is actually a good way, to connect with that. I will talk about play therapy as we go ahead. But play is also an important mode of learning. Okay, majority of time when a parent brings child, or let's say a school refers a child to the counselor, they usually refer the child for academic related issues. Okay, now when a child is coming with academic related issues, what we are looking at, what is our, how we can understand a child who is coming with academic problems. What do you think?
We will check if they have any learning disabilities, like
Okay, learning
it's
disability.
like, yeah.
What else?
So attention deficit issues.
Attention deficit. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe there are hyperactivity or some.
Hyperactivity, ADHD. Okay.
Lack of interest to that, maybe
Lack of
studies.
interest,
There's
motivation.
motivation.
Okay.
And also sometimes the teacher can be a problem. Like sometimes
Okay.
certain
Parent
Approach.
or teacher problems.
Maybe the approach of the method of studies. Maybe if you show in video, maybe they grasp better than on a
Okay. So
board and on
learning style.
lining methods.
What else?
Maybe
the
there's a
atmosphere.
fear from the
Fear.
parents.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Expectation, fear. Anything else?
Their classmates, distractions.
Okay. Problem with the classmates, bullying and things like that. Okay. Anything else? When a child is referred to a counselor for academic issue, mainly we are thinking, about studies. Mainly we are thinking about academic performance. But let me ask you this question. Where does learning happen?
At home, so
Only at
first,
home?
and from surroundings wherever the child is.
If you look at the learning,
Whatever activity they do, it can be
if you
playing,
look
it
at
can be
learning,
sports.
yeah, if you look at learning, learning doesn't happen in classrooms. Okay. The way child learns, the pattern of learning that child uses in classroom is the same pattern that child uses when they are learning to play a game, or they are learning to play something, or learn, do something in their other environment. So if child has learning problem, for example, attention problem, then it is not just in the classroom. It should be evident in all the areas of their life. Okay. If the child has memory issues, then, it should be relevant in all the areas of the child. Okay. Now we need to understand that learning is not just limited to classroom. One of the major component of learning is, through the play that they engage in. Children learn through playing, and that is also learning. Okay. So they establish the patterns of learning through playing. So even in counseling, we need to keep that in mind, that through learning, through playing, we can actually re-engineer the behavior of the child. So a lot of things can happen just, helping the child to play, or engaging the child in play. Okay. So, that's one thing. Second thing is control. In counseling, when you're meeting a child, the counselor knowingly needs to give the control to children. Okay. That doesn't mean that, they are just allowing them to do whatever they want. But for rapport building, where, for example, there are some, you can actually, the counselor can ask the child, okay, what do you like? Which game you like? And the child will say, okay, I like that. Okay. And, can you teach me? Okay. Now, as soon as the counselor says, can you teach me? The counselor is giving control to the child. Okay. Or allowing them to become an adult for some time. Every child has a, hidden desire to become an adult. Okay. Sometimes when we engage in that desire, they feel good about themselves. And that's a good way to connect. And so it's very important that, temporarily we give that control to the child, so that we can engage with children. For example, giving them opportunity. Okay, there are so many, items, which item you want to select. Okay, giving the power of deciding, giving the power of selection, all that is giving control to them. Okay. And through that we can actually engage with children. Yeah. The next thing is entering and leaving the room. Very important, very strategic move is how you enter the room, where the child will sit, where you will sit, how you will leave the room. Okay. All that matters, because, when a child enters, they are entering into a unknown area. Okay, it's like, if you're afraid of darkness and I push you into a dark room, how you will feel. So we need to strategically understand and maybe, allow the child to select where they want to sit, so that, they can, or it is actually, instead of going with the child, sometimes what I do is I allow the child to go before me and just simply explore for some time. So I may not be there. I will ask the parent to take the child inside and just, maybe play with the child for some time. So when the child goes inside the room and start exploring, start playing in that room, they will make that area as their area. They will feel comfortable. And then you walk into it. So instead of inviting the child to the room, you are asking the child to go into the room first, and then you are slowly entering there, that area. And even when going out, leaving, how you are taking the child to the parent. Okay, those who are parent, I hope you remember during play school how the child, the leaving and when you left the child and when you go back to take the child, how the child used to respond. You can expect the same thing sometimes in counseling also. So it's the responsibility of the, counselor to build that strategy on how they will enter and how they will leave. Okay, many times, once the session gets over, if you just leave the child, parent will be there or may not be there, we don't know. So if there is, you can maybe take the child for a tour, show them, beautiful things around that, and then slowly take them to the parent. That is also possible. Everything is strategically moved and placed. Okay, so very important, how you enter the room and how you leave the room with the child. And that also shows allowing child to explore the room and area, very important. Okay, uh, you know asking the child to go through the room and, making the room as their own, so they can go and take whatever they want. So before the child enters, we also have to child proof the room, not keep something, which can harm or which can, which can be which can create problem. So before the child comes in, you create that environment, and then, you know strategically keep things so that they can explore the area and they can actually look at it. Okay, very important. Yeah, when you are allowing freedom to the child, you also need to limit the power and control also. You need to set some limits. Okay, you know where the child can explore, where the child can play, what is the play area, what is not the play area, how to take the play items, how to keep the play items. There need to be some structure. Okay, and because if you develop a structure, that pattern will be followed for the rest of the session. Otherwise, child will not understand and may not. So engaging in the play, child gets some privileges. Okay, it's a privilege the child is getting to engage in play. But if the child is not following the, structure or the limits, then what will happen? The counselor will be sitting with the child and the child will be continuously playing for 1 hour, 2 hour, and no work will happen. So there is a play time, but then there is also process time or talk time and things like that. So we have to set some limits. Freedom is there, but with responsibility, and that's where, there is a balance between power and freedom, and that we have to set with the client. The next one, physical contact. Okay, just because they are children doesn't mean that you can go and touch them. Okay, we should be very careful. Children, they will, if they are feeling very free, they may, come and physically touch, but that is their choice. Okay, uh, you know uh, but you as an adult, before we touch the child, we need to be very careful that we establish trust with the child. And how much to touch, how much, to, doesn't mean the child is coming and directly you put in on your lap. doesn't, that you should not do that. We should be very careful when we are touching. Okay. So set the limits also in physical touch. Only appropriate touch is necessary. Unwanted touch we should avoid. Okay. We should actually keep a limit on how much physically we are touching. If you can do without touching, go ahead with that. If the child is coming and climbing all over you, it's completely okay. But you you know should keep a limit when you are initiating the touch with the child, because how you touch, the same pattern will be continued. Okay. So when you're establishing rapport with the child, touch is important, but make always see how the child is picking the signals and keep it appropriate. Okay. And especially when parents are there, they also need to know what is your intention of touching. Especially when you are, let's say, a female counselor, touching a male client, male child, and a male counselor touching a female child. Very important. It should be based on, the trust and the consent of the parents. Yeah. Another very important thing, food and gifts. Uh, it is good for rapport building. Okay. But it should not be something that we create a pattern out of. Okay. Many times, when a child does something, you give a chocolate or something that, they like, can be a good reinforcement. Okay. Keeping, certain some food items so that they can munch on can be a good rapport building aspect, but should be done with a restraint. It should not be like, you create a pattern, then tomorrow the child will start bringing food, and then, child will ask you to eat food, and then, so all that messiness may also come in. So receiving gift, giving gift, now child may not know, so they will think, okay, I can give gift. We should also not say no to a child. Okay. Because that may also hurt the trust. Sometimes it's okay to receive, but make sure that the pattern is not created. Otherwise, every time the child will bear gifts and come to the session. So certain balance need to be there, and these are some of the issues that can actually pop up, when we are counseling children. Then comes setting. Very important. Okay. uh, Select a place where distractions are less. Okay. So it can be quiet and private place. Now it doesn't mean it should be closed space. It should be quiet and private. Why? Because you don't want child to be distracted. So sometime if there are big windows, and if there is something moving outside the window, child may get distracted by that. So always it is good to keep a quiet environment. Okay. Structure a quiet environment and also private environment, well, where they feel safe to share something, become vulnerable, or talk about something, or do something, which they will not like to do it in public. So very important when it comes to setting. Next is non-demanding atmosphere. Okay. If you When we are talking about children, we cannot expect them to sit on a chair for 1 hour or the time that they will move. So we need to give space that they can move. If you restrict them, like, for example, if you are sitting, on one side, and the child is sitting towards the wall facing you. Okay. So if you physically restrain them, then automatically they will also restrict their mind. So there needs to be some space so that they can move, where they can freely move, in their own way. It should be a non-demanding, atmosphere. Okay. There needs to be items which can engage them, but it should not be distracting. If you fill your room with all the play items, then by the time they explore everything, the time will go. So it should be limited. Every item should be there with intention. Okay. Many therapists, what they do is, before they meet the child, they will study the child's profile and keep certain items there, and will see which item the child will go and pick, and that item will become the topic of discussion. Okay. through that rapport building. It's called as a non-directive method. Some therapists will bring some items specifically to work with the child. That is the directive method. So, having a freedom or area where it is less demanding also is very important when it comes to setting. And that's why minimal distraction. Okay. As much as possible, minimal distraction is needed in the room. Okay, if the child can constantly see who is crossing the room and voices around, it may take the attention of the child. Okay, so setting becomes another important issue. Then facilitation of communication. uh, as a child, initially you can expect that there will be awkward silences. Now, children are usually, they are good in observation. So they become silent and they will observe. Many children will be very silent. Okay. That doesn't mean that they don't want to talk. That may be a initial hiccup of relationship. So you as a counselor, we need to become comfortable with silence. Okay. And sometimes if the child is not engaging, you can also create a space where you are doing something and the child is observing. Okay, so silence also can be a good way of communicating. So some therapists will start playing or allow the child to draw something, like art therapy, and when they are drawing there is silence. Okay, so sometime children counseling will be lot of chaos, lot of noise, but sometime it will be absolutely silent. There may be no verbal interaction at all, but still the work is happening. Okay, so become comfortable with the silence. Okay, you don't have to fill always with the words. Yes, when the child is doing something, as an adult you can actually maybe also become like a commentator and explain what they are doing. Oh, you are keeping the doll here. Oh, this is what you are trying to do. You can comment, you can do a commentary, but then there is also a time of silence where the child, you can very silently, play or, connect with the child. Okay, so keep that in mind. Body language, very important. If we behave like an adult, we will never be able to connect to a child. So somewhere we need to loosen up. Okay, we need to also become like a child. We should connect, uh, we say in psychology, we need to connect with our inner child to connect to the child who is sitting in front of us. So imitating the child behavior also is very important in terms of language, in terms of sitting. Okay, you also need to sit in certain way. The way you are facing the child also is very important. So your body language needs to connect with the child. Okay, so having a facilitative body language where you are not closed but you are open. Okay, you are not stiff but you are loose. There is also movement that you can move. All that is very important when it comes to children. Okay, eye contact also is very important because children, you can expect initially child may not give you eye contact because they don't trust you, but slowly you can expect child to give you eye contact. But even if they are not giving, for example, there is a huge difference between eye contact, between the male children and female children. Okay, female children tend to make extended eye contact. Okay, so you can expect the female child to give you direct eye to eye contact when you're talking, but male may prefer to do something in their hands to engage in certain activities and may not give eye contact. So they will be busy doing things, they will talk, but they may not give that direct eye to eye contact like a female child. Okay, so keep that in mind, that it is okay, you don't have to stare into their eyes. It is okay to break eye contact and engage with them. And when you are, even if you are not giving eye contact, keep them in the frame of your eyes so that you can see what is happening in their body language. Okay, so even though you are not directly looking at them, but they are in the frame, and you can actually read what is happening, the non-verbals that they are giving, you are able to read. Encouragers and door openers. Now, children will appreciate when we express it through our face and through our body. So we need to engage our body and our expression when we are talking to them. So when a child is telling, "Oh, today I did this," as a counselor, we need to respond in a very hyperbolic way. That means, "Oh, really?" So we need to have that expression when we are talking to children. If we are, stoic, if we give a very blank expression, they may not connect. Okay, so our expression needs to be little more than what we give to an adult, like 10 times more. And even the response also should be in a certain way where child can actually respond. So those are called as encouragers. So encouragers, oh really, very good. So like that, language and that motion will actually encourage the child to talk, and it will be a door opener also. So when you see that, child giving that slight signal, it can be maybe a slight smile, or maybe looking at you just slightly, and then those are door openers. And we need to keep in mind when we are talking to children, because if we can catch that and then encourage that, the child will actually open up. Okay, so those are very important slight things that we need to keep in mind when we are trying to connect with the child. Reflection and active listening, very important. When you cannot expect the child to talk like an adult. So child may talk, and I talked about this in the lifespan when I was talking about children. They may talk in telegraphic or telegram method. Okay, instead of telling I want to drink water, I drank. They may just use some keywords. Now you as a counselor needs to frame the sentence. Oh, you want to drink water from the glass? Now that's the way you need to reflect. Okay, so many times when the child gives a verbal statement, you also need to reflect that by putting the statement in frame. Okay, so that you are clear what the child is trying to tell. And sometimes you may take it in a different meaning also. The child will then correct, no, 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 this one, not water, juice. Okay, so all that is a good way to connect or communicate to the client, to reflect what they are telling. And that happens again and again. That active listening skills, we need to use it when we are actually working with the child. Then comes non-threatening and empathetic style, which we should have. Our the way we interact with the child should be non-threatening. Okay, now we need to understand, as adults, we are actually physically we are threatening to client. So if we sit in front in a very broad way, that can be threatening. The child may look at you as a monster. So it's important that you also become small in front of the client. Okay, so that the child feels non-threatening. Now that also means the space, so don't just simply go and sit very close to the child. Slowly engage, and then go look at closer contact, so you can actually see how the child is interacting. That's why when the child goes first and sits in a place, and then you can actually slowly sit and see how the child is reacting, and start from where the child is comfortable and then slowly move close to the child. Okay, so very non-threatening way, empathetic way we have to respond to the children. So decrease in the power differential. That means we need to know that we are powerful. Physically, mentally, emotionally, we are powerful. Okay, so with that awareness, we need to actually go and sit with the child. If you are really, let's say, physically huge, and if you're having really good height, it is okay to actually sit on the floor. Somewhere your head level and the child head level should actually come to the same level. Okay. So physically also you need to, you know, put yourself down so that they feel powerful. Okay. And when child feel powerful, it's a very good way to connect with the child. So keep that in mind that, the child always will look at you from a powerful perspective, and we need to use it by giving the power to the child so that we can connect, with the child. So bring down your power. It's okay to, move a bit. One of the best way to actually work with children is start learning action songs. Okay. Lose yourself, learn to dance, it will free yourself, become like a child. And when we do that, we are, decreasing the power that we have, and this connects, as a child. And that's where body position also becomes very important. How you place your body, how you sit, how you move, all that becomes very important. Your verbal tone, what is the voice that you're using? Okay. Too much of hard voice can be a threatening factor when it comes to children. So you might have to use that your inner child voice when you're connecting with the, child, sort of softening and like a rhythmic way. You can actually use your voice. So that verbal tone also matters how you connect, with the child. Okay. Yeah. Touching can be, can give different signals. So it's advised or it is recommended that do maximum what you can without touching. If the child wants to come and touch, completely okay, but from your side you should not initiate. Okay. So be very careful, when you are going. And the recommended thing is, it is better you don't initiate any touching. Okay. And yeah, when you're talking to child, always use simple words. Okay. All that jargons, all that we have to simplify it and talk as a child. Okay. So as simple as possible. We have to use easy words that, and not look at that big words and difficult words. Okay. For example, I want to communicate with you, they may not understand. I want to talk to you. Okay. I want to, understand you, they may not understand those words. So I want to know you. Something very simple, easy words will help the child to actually connect with what you're telling. Any doubts or any confusion till now?
So this approach is generally for children below 10 years, or like it can be for.
Yes, it is actually for, we can say, from 6 to 11, 12.
11. Oh, okay.
Yeah, before they get into the teenage, before they get into puberty, this may work. But again, some children are very mature in their age, so we
Yes.
also have to keep in mind.
Mm.
If you see that sign of maturity, then you have to match according to that. Okay, that's
Mm.
why every children, we have to look at them in a separate way.
Mm.
The way they communicate with their parents, we can actually study that style. The way they initially interacting, you can actually
Mm.
study that style, and then match that style,
Child.
in talking.
So also one more question. When you
Yeah.
said about learning, like learning difficulty for the children. So when you said whatever they if they have memory issues, or they are, they don't have interest in studies, and they may not have interest in other things or something like that you had mentioned previously.
Mm.
But there are some children, so when they might be interested in drawing but not in studies, so that interest varies, right? Or they
Interest
might
varies.
remember things when they
Yes.
see in, like, visual videos, they may remember all the songs. Or but you ask them to read an Bible verse, they will not remember. But if you show them in a musical way, they pick up very faster.
Yes. Very true. That is the difference in the style of learning.
Okay.
So, many times if we can identify what style of learning they have, then we can apply that to something, which they are not interested in. Okay.
Mhm.
For example, majority of children, when it comes to maths, they have difficulty because numbers and things they don't connect. So like
Mm.
play, you know, they may not able to actually engage in maths. So if you can turn maths into play, I think we can see if they are interested in that or not. So interest also varies. Some subject
Mm.
they will be interested, some subject may not be interested.
Interesting.
But that is the problem of interest. That
Correct.
is not the problem of learning.
Okay.
Okay. Many times the child is sent to a counselor and they will be told, the counselor will be told that they are not good in studies. This is what they tell, because why? They are not getting good marks.
Mm. Yeah.
So the whole learning, when we say
Mm.
learning disability is not in the classroom. It
Okay.
should be evident in other areas also. A child who is not able to learn in the class should also, not able to learn in the playground and other areas. When it is in all the other areas there is learning difficulty, then we can say that okay, there is some learning issues and problem. Otherwise, if the child is doing very well in, able to adapt, engage, and
Mm.
respond and increase the knowledge in play, then the question is why the child is not able to apply it in the classroom. So maybe it's an interest problem. They are not able to,
Interest.
connect to the subject as they are connecting to the play. So can we develop that connection?
Okay.
you know and then the child will be able to adapt to the situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I will quickly go because I'm you know, getting delay in my thing. Yeah. Now the next one that we will look at is language. Language also plays a very important role. The counselor needs to be sensitive about the developmental age or milestone that, for example, when you're talking to a child who is 5-year old or 6-year old, we need to understand what language they have and talk accordingly. So it is more action oriented language than the sentences. Okay. Now when it comes to 7 8, that okay, because they have a foundation of school, they may be able to articulate, but again there is a limitation. Okay, so you can have a little more verbal, you can expect little more verbal interaction from a 7 or 8 year old who have got the foundation of schooling, or the language foundation is there. And then similarly, okay, so according to the developmental level we need to actually interview the client. Okay, so we have to be sensitive to the developmental level, and then accordingly create strategy and interpret the statement, from the developmental level. Okay, so many times, if you think that okay, a 12-year-old child will talk like a 5-year-old and will interpret the world like a 12-year-old, it may not work out. Okay, so same thing, a 12-year-old may look at it differently, a 5-year-old will look at it in a different way. So there is no uniformity, so we need to be sensitive about that. Choose language that is appropriate to the developmental level of the child. Okay, especially in Indian context, many children are more comfortable with vernacular because that's what is the foundation, of communication when they grow up. Rarely children they start speaking in English. They will speak in vernacular and then they will shift. So already their mind is thinking from the vernacular language perspective. Okay. So we need to keep in mind and then accordingly choose language. If you can talk in their vernacular language, or you know can you uh, increase the level of action and words together, okay, instead of relying only on language. So choose the level of language, when you according to the developmental level when you're looking at child. Misunderstanding and avoidable errors can occur, so expect that language errors will be there. There is something called a generalized grammar when it comes to children. They will inappropriately put unwanted grammar everywhere, you know. So it is completely okay. Now you are not a language teacher, so you can expect and you can be okay with that. Don't no need to correct them, oh, not like this, but you can talk like that. No, no, it's okay. That's not your, that's, you are not a teacher there, so it's okay. Just understand the intent of what they are trying to actually, say. So it's okay if they are, you are getting misunderstanding, or if there is errors in language. Okay, so don't expect them to talk like an adult. General question can be asked at the beginning and the responses used to determine the language level. Now, this is where initially the first segment of the session, you ask something which is very generic. Okay. And from that, you can actually get an understanding of what level of language they have. Okay. So we need to very quickly read and understand and comprehend what is the level of communication and language the child is having, and then adopt accordingly. Okay. So from the adult language, we have to translate or convert ourselves into the child language. So understand the pattern of their, language, the way they frame the sentence, and use the same pattern when you're communicating with the child. Okay. Analyze the child's speech to determine the level of intelligence, what is, how they comprehend things, what is the level of, understanding or interpreting things around them. Okay, all that, especially when it comes to 5-year-old, 6-year-old, there is a high level of fantasy. Okay, they can build a world of fantasy. So we also need to be very careful what to take as reality and what, sometimes we have to, that doesn't mean that you have to tell the guy, oh, this is fantasy, don't believe in that. Okay, oh, Santa Claus doesn't belong, there is no Santa Claus, don't believe. No, we should understand, because that fantasy is also their way of communicating. Okay, so we need to go along with that fantasy and understand what is the world that they have created. Okay, so very important, the, the frame and the how they frame the sentences, the syllables, the complexity of grammar. And when you see that error happening, you can also use that error when you're talking to a child. Okay, because child will always respond to people those who are similar to them. Okay, in terms of language, in terms of behaviorism, we can actually match what the child is actually bringing. So the vocabulary that the child is using, you can understand and use the same vocabulary to respond to the child. Okay, non-verbal language. Okay, non-verbal language also is very important when you are, seeing children. A child who slouches in the chair or refuses to make eye contact, you can expect that it is resistance. Okay, there can be signs and signals of resistance in the child when they are, when they slouch in the chair and they don't want to see, or they just, many children actually will physically also will move back like this. you know they may not even want to physically see you. So you can expect that, and that is the sign of resistance. So be very compassionate when you're dealing with the resistance, because resistance also, if you don't deal with in a compassionate way, the child may become more hard. Okay, so it's okay. Sometimes we have to allow the child to resist and then engage them in different activities that they like, and then slowly win their trust. Okay, so adjust your body language and approach in such a way so that the child will be becoming more engaged in the process. So when you see resistance, employ, play, art, or whatever, something that the child likes, and try to connect through that. Okay, understand what are the hobbies, what are something that they like. It can be, you might have heard from the parent or seen in the profile. So keep things ready, so that you can have multiple choices to engage with the children. Okay. Observation of non-verbal of the child may also give insight about the child's difficulty. So sometimes when we see the resistance of the child, we will also understand what is the issue that the child is facing. Okay, we can understand, what is the core situation or how the child may be dealing in the outside world. Okay, so it will may give some hints, of the child, how they behave outside. So very important, keep in mind as you look at the child's non-verbals. Any questions till now? Okay, now what is the difference between adult and the child language? There is a whole lot of difference we need to keep in mind. Child expect adults to have a direct communication, so don't use indirect language. Okay, like sometimes, we say, like adult will use, oh, why don't you do that? Okay, there is a hidden agenda or a different, indirect indication. Never use that language. Child may not comprehend what you are trying to tell. Always keep a direct, so the words and what you think should be direct communication, not indirect communication. Children assume adult know the answers due to socialization, so always they look at you as an expert. Okay, you are big in size and also you have bigger brains, so they see you as someone who knows the world. Okay, so don't expect them to socialize. That initiation should come from your side. Okay, so how you socialize, how you initiate the socializing with the child, they look at you in a better way, and we can give them a frame so that they can respond to that. Okay, so it's very important as we engage with children. Children learn that the goal of conversation is to figure out what adult wants to hear. Okay, when a child talks, it is basically they want adult to hear a certain things. Okay, so keep that in mind. Sometimes children may try to impress you by telling you what you want to hear. That may not be the real thing, but that is what you want to hear. That's why they are speaking. So sometimes children may be talking, but their intention will be something else. Now, because you are an adult, they want to impress you with, they want to see you in a good, already they are vulnerable. So they will put a show in front of you. Okay, that they are a very good child. Why? They want you also to tell that they are good child. So it's understand the underlying, meaning there, and also see why the child is trying to impress you. What is the child, why the child is trying to, take your attention, or why the child is expressing in a certain way, and then respond to the child in those lines. That's why it is crucial that you adopt a certain linguistic style to elicit information. That's why always think out of the box. Okay, don't get stuck in a certain communications pattern. Always have, you know different styles to connect with the children. It can be through play, art, or other expressive ways also, so that you can get information from the child. Next is building trust. Okay, don't expect child to build trust automatically. Trust is a learned behavior. Always remember that. Okay, trust is not an emotion, it's a learned behavior. So very strategically we need to gain trust from the child. Okay, so it's a learned behavior that we gain from past experiences, and it is hope and dependability and put confidence in someone. So there might be children, if they have a very insecure attachment with their primary caregivers, you can expect a very insecure attachment with you also. Okay, so children who have insecure attachment style, you will find lot of difficulty to gain the trust of the child. Okay, so that is also indicating something from the past. For example, if the child is scared of teachers, you can expect that same fear with a counselor also. So it's a learned behavior, and sometimes we have to give time to the child to regain trust. So, we should not be disappointed if you don't see the child trusting you in the first session. Slowly, let the process be slow, take your time and slowly build that trust. Sometimes trust must be earned and maintained. Okay, so trust is also something that especially when it comes to children, every session that you meet, you need to establish trust with the child. You cannot take for granted that okay, I have already built in last session, this session I will just go according. No, we need to be sensitive because many times we need to earn that trust. So strategize and respond accordingly, and then maintain that trust with consistent action. Okay, yeah. So keep in mind, do not over talk. Okay, I know as adults, we tend to talk too much to children. Okay, don't depend too much on your verbal interaction. So don't, that temptation of over talking we should avoid. Don't hijack the conversation, or don't start, giving instruction like teacher or a parent. Slowly, in a patient way, engage, sometimes in a play, sometime in art, sometimes silence, and but make sure that you are not giving too much of verbal instructions to the child. Okay, that should come from the child. If child is talking, good. Okay, you as a counselor should not overly talk, and you don't have to explain everything. Okay, explaining everything like a teacher, or do like this, because too much of instruction also can hamper the trust that you have with children. They may look at you like a authority figure, like a teacher or a parent, and may not connect with you. So give them freedom. Sometimes allow them to explain to you instead of you explaining to them. Allow them to explain some things to you. So keep that range also. So limit your evaluation statement, very important. Okay, don't become a teacher instead of counselor. Don't become an evaluator. Okay, encouragement is good, but that encouragement should not be in form of evaluation. Okay, so you can motivate it, but it should not be like you are evaluating, you are looking, you are concentrating. It should be something which is very smooth and natural. Do not fill the pauses. Be comfortable with silence. Do not comment on child's behavior. Oh, you are a good boy, you are a bad boy, or like that comments. Be very careful, because sometimes that comments can hurt. Okay, and it can hamper the trust. So be very careful when you are commenting on a behavior. Yes, you can actually give feedback to the child. For example, oh, I really like the way you were doing that. Oh, I didn't like when you were doing like this, or when you're spilling things over. I wish you can do like that. So we need to actually respond in that way, instead of don't do like that, don't do like this, sit here. If you put those instructions there, they may not take things lightly. Do not jump into the topic of concern without rapport. You may know that why child is there in front of you, but don't directly jump into it. Let's say a client is referred for academic issue. As soon as you meet the client, don't jump into the academics. Okay, what you are studying, what do you like, don't go into it. Divert, take into something that they like, and then slowly come to the point of concern where they are struggling, and then slowly bring it up. Okay, otherwise it may affect the rapport that you have with the client. Okay, now what needs to happen in the first session? Now first session is very crucial when it comes to counseling, because if we mess up first session, then we cannot expect other session to go well. Okay, yeah, sometimes first session doesn't go well also, so keep that also in mind. So keep the expectation low. Okay, don't have high expectation. All the expectation should be low, because child can actually interact or behave in a certain way that you have not expected. So it's always good to be ready, to think out of the box and use multiple methods to engage with children. Okay, so it's good to design the room in such a way that you have options available. Okay, it can be play related activities, it can be art, things like the child you can connect. So first session can be short. Okay, because parents are there, child is new. Sometimes they will take time to explore. So don't expect that they may sit, they may be walking around. So let them explore and things become comfortable. So don't, so the regular position, or don't expect that they will sit also sometimes, but when they are sitting, identify how they are sitting. Okay, don't expect them to sit on the chair. They may come and sit on the table, or maybe somewhere far away they will go and sit on the corner. But the place that they are selecting has lot of significance. That will clearly tell you how much they like you, how much they don't like you. Okay, the children are very open. So if they don't like you, you will see a far distance, and how much they like, the closeness will come. Okay, so don't expect much. Okay, so first session could be short but with playful activities. Okay, sitting across the desk may not help. So keeping a desk in between the child and the, yeah, you may see that in movies and serials, but in actual situation, desk is a problematic thing. Usually it should be, something which is plain with chairs, that's it. Okay, maybe a desk at the corner. If they want to draw something, you can bring it and then keep it back. So it is better not to have anything in the middle. uh, who do you want to talk to first? It's very important how you select. Do you want to talk to parents first, or you want to talk to child first? Many children will have, parents may not tell the exact picture. Okay, and when they bring the child, then you will understand that this is not working. Why? Because you don't know the background. So many therapists, what they do is they will ask the parent to come first. Okay, and then talk to them and bring the child for the second session. So that is one possibility. Otherwise, if the child is coming, you can ask one of the parent to come and give you a background, and let the child may play with the one parent outside, and then after that, the other parent can come. So there can be different strategies. Okay, but because the child is the concentration, it is better, before you meet the parent, you need to prioritize children also. So some therapists, what they will do, they will first talk to children. Even, they will take the risk of not knowing the issue. Okay, they will first establish rapport with the child, and then the later part of the session, they will bring the parent to know the actual why they want to bring it. So so you will get time to establish. So there are different strategies that people use. So according to the child issue, you can select the strategy whom to talk first, parent or child. It is always advised not to talk to a child when, in, or not to talk about child when the child is there present. Okay, it will be very awkward. So always when the parent is speaking to you, you need to speak to the child. Okay, so when the child is, parent are talking about the child, keep the child in mind, because child also is listening to the conversation. Okay, so don't just simply have adult conversation when the child is present. Very important. If possible, meet the child first, set the agenda. That's actually a very good way to, but sometime it may not work. So always look at different strategies. Meet the parents later on and draw some agreement. Very important. Parent needs to know what you are going to share to them and what you are not going to share to them. Okay, just because they are parents doesn't mean that you share the entire detail to the parent. There are some things that you tell to the parents, something you don't tell to the parents. Okay, you can also engage the parent to know about some information. Okay, so child needs to know what is this conversation happening. So somewhere, the child also need to agree that, okay, you sit with the parent and talk, especially if the child is, let's say, age 9, 10 above. Child need to know what you are actually talking to the parent. Otherwise, next time you will see the child may not, get in touch with you. Okay, so very important. uh, yeah. Yeah, resistance also, there can be lot of signs of resistance that you can actually notice in children. Okay, for example, silence, asking questions, too much of question, like as though they are grilling you. Okay, that's a sign that they want to avoid you. Showing disinterest, completely cut off physically, they will show that. Refusal to come, they don't want to come to the room. Okay, so sometimes you need to allow parents also to come. You can also, some counselors, they have an observation room, so they will allow parent and child, and then they will see how the parent is connecting, and they will become comfortable, and then they will go to the room. So if you are seeing refusal to come or to talk, that is also sign of resistance. Putting the head down, physical complete, they don't want to give eye contact or completely cut off, that is also sign of resistance. Aggression, okay, coming and hitting or shouting, screaming, all that. Defense, crying, lying, destructive, okay, you know engaging in lot, or when you're doing something, they will, distract the whole process. Sometimes I don't know answers. You're trying to connect, and the only answer that you're getting from child is I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Vague answers, mumbling, all these are signs of resistance you can expect from the child. And that is also a sign that rapport is not built. So our strategy should be, to build rapport with the client, okay, to work on. So don't expect the child to suddenly change the resistance. Sometime it will take time, to build rapport and to work on, especially in volunteer clients. If they are forced by the parents, or if they are asked by the teacher to go and meet the counselor, or if they are referred, you will see lot of resistance in them. Okay, so read the resistance and then strategically, very patiently, work so that all that resistance can come down. Okay, now, when we talk to or in when we talk about child counseling, like I said, we cannot expect verbal production or verbal statement from the client. So, as a child counselor, you can use expressive therapies to connect and work with the child. Okay, so don't expect like two adults, they talk, to each other and sort out the problem. You cannot do that with children. So naturally, as child counselor, you need to become competent and good at least one or two of the expressive, therapies, so that you can work with children. Okay, for example, now what is expressive therapy? Expressive therapies, also called as creative art therapies, are counseling approaches which uses non-verbal, sensory, symbolic and creative activities, okay, which will help the child to express feeling, thoughts and experiences they cannot communicate through words. So without using words, child can actually do or communicate through different mediums. Expressive therapy actually goes into those lines. Okay, children often cannot articulate trauma, they cannot articulate fears, they cannot articulate confusion, guilt, feelings of safety or danger, rational conflict. So you can expect limitation, when they are using words. So expressive therapy helps children to tell their story through creativity. Okay, so this is an out of box way to connect with the child, and getting into their psyche, so that you can work on them. Now there are different types of expressive therapy. We'll talk about it. But what is the core principle of expressive therapy? Children express themselves through play, art, movement, and imagination. Okay, so these are abstract way of talking. Okay, instead of concrete talk, you are looking at abstract way of connecting with the child. Okay, so you can use expressive therapy with children, teenagers, trauma survivors, children with limited language, okay, those who are shy, resistant, and distrustful. So all the range of children client you can actually connect through expressive arts. There are different types. So the first type is art therapy. Okay, art therapy is using drawing, painting, coloring, clay, collage, mask making. So there are different ways of art, using art to communicate with the child and to work with the child. Okay, why it works? Art bypasses the thinking brain. Okay, so that structure, you can bypass, and you can get into their emotions and feelings by getting into art. Okay, so it's a symbolic expression which helps reveal internal conflict. So when they are engaging in art, lot of things can come out, from inside, and you will see the symbolic way of expression in the artwork. Now, children gain mastery and control. So when they are not talking, but when they engage in art, they are also in control. Okay, they are in control of the narrative, they are in control of the expression. Okay, so they feel very much in control. It is very useful in trauma, abuse, anxiety, and behavioral issues. Okay, some of the common techniques, art therapy techniques, is feeling thermometer drawing. Okay, like you are helping the child, to draw how they are feeling. So many therapists, what they do is they will keep lot of colors and will ask, okay, select a color which describe what is happening inside of you, and they will select and they will draw something. So we get what they are feeling, what is the intensity of their feeling. Draw your family also, that family tree, family figures, the way they draw it, all those symbolic. Now I know many of these techniques are coming from the theoretical perspective. Okay, so theory needs to be used to interpret what they are drawing. We cannot just simply assume that they have drawn like that. So sometimes theory needs to come into picture to understand the whole dynamics of the family. Mask creating, mask and talking about. I remember one of my friend, when I was studying my masters, she had a client who was 4 year old. Okay, and how she used to communicate was, by us. She made a, I don't know if you remember, children they make with paper, no, where they, it's like a mouth, and we do like that. So she used to keep, in front of her mouth, and she used to talk in a puppet way, and the child also started talking in that. So that became a mask, and that mask, started communicating what is there inside of the child. Okay, so that is what is mask, to express inner and outer self. Shields, making for strength. So sometimes, when you identify that the child has some strength, you can visibly make like a shield, something like, for boys it can be like a muscle, or it's something that they can actually visually, represent it. Collage of hope and safety, coloring emotion, all these are different techniques that people use, when we are working with children. Now these are some examples of, the actual art therapy some children have drawn, and you can get lot of understanding when you look at the picture. As a therapist, these are, like treasures. uh, as an adult it will be difficult to understand, but for a child these are all treasure of information. So you can see actually, different colors showing different emotion, and the child is trying to show what emotion they are going through in their life. Okay, and many times the child themselves will actually describe the whole image. We need to also allow child to represent what they are making. This is another one, where they are using different emojis to tell what they are going through, and the child will describe what they have gone through. This is another, child, little bit mature child, maybe 11 or 12, drawing, what they are feeling, where the child is at the corner. See the room, how the room is closed, dark. Okay, and the parent who is shouting, and the child who is feeling that. So you can, without using words, see how the child is describing what is happening, how the world is becoming small to them, and they are being cornered in a room, and how the child is being treated. This is another way of, a picnic, what is happening, and the child is representing, the whole picnic situation that is happening in the backyard, and what is happening on each party, and everyone is doing different things, and so look at the eyes of the dad here, very interesting, red eyes, and that, so everything, every object, every color, actually the child is able to, talk it out and express what they cannot say in words. There are different other methods, that we can use when it comes to art. You can go very deep also into that. I'm pretty sure all of this we are already aware, because but in counseling we use it very strategically, and we try to understand. It is not just to build rapport, but it is also to work with the client. We use these techniques, to connect and also to work with the client. I remember once I was working with a child, and I asked him to build, the family members, and the child drew, the usual river and mountain, and the child actually drew the family members on one side of the river, and he alone on the other side of the river. So we started talking, and then, and then one side I asked, why he's standing alone? How you think, other family members can actually, help this child? So I actually, instead of telling how you, I started representing as a third person, because the child also presented that this is not me, it is someone else. Okay, so we should actually go along with them. And I asked the child how you can, how this child can actually connect with the family, or how family can connect with the child. And that child, without speaking anything, okay, just drew a bridge on that river, and, showed the child walking and going to the other side. See, sometimes child can work out their own issues. We need to only give them space, and they will be able to find out. So many techniques are there which helps children to work out in different way. Uh, I've already gone beyond the time. How much time I can take? I'm so sorry. There's so many things, which is. Uh, can I take 5 more minutes and I quickly wind it up? Is it okay?
Please, sir.
Yes, sir. Take your time, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm so sorry. Okay, the next one comes play therapy. Okay, so that is art therapy. Now this is play. You are using play as a natural, language to talk with the children. Okay, toys become their words. Okay, so there are different ways of using toys, and toys, the toy that they are picking will become a language that the counselor and the child will be, talking. So why it works? Children process painful experiences to play. So very important to see what play they are selecting, or what play they are engaging in. It helps to gain control over overwhelming emotions. So, through play, you can see how the emotions they are able to regulate. It also helps in building rapport and emotional safety, helps counselor understand the child world. Now, there are different type of play therapy. Okay. Technically, there are two types. One is directive, another is non-directive. Non-directive is you arrange lot of play material and you give the freedom to the child to go and select and play with certain. Directive is you are bringing a play item and then you are engaging. Okay, so that is the separate two ways. So in non-directive, the child leads. In directive, the counselor gives structured play task. Then there is something called as sand tray. Recently, in our college we had the sand tray training program. On the sand there are figures, and the child, plays with the figures and tells the story. So there, all those figures becomes, their language to talk to. Okay, so that is sand tray. Then dolls, using of dolls to communicate. Okay, puppet play. Okay, storytelling play. All these are different type of play, play therapy that they use. The next is drama. Okay, drama also is very important. Role playing, okay, with the child. It can be imaginative, it can be storytelling, enactment. Okay, all that also is very good. So you become a certain character. Oh, you become, I will become a baby, you become a tiger, and then, you enact. So all those are drama therapy, to use and connect with the child. Now, why it works? Children can try out certain emotion safety. Sometimes children have those emotions stored in them, and we can bring it out. We can help them to actually, channelize it to by drama, by enacting a certain thing. Okay, helps to externalize problems. Since, instead of keeping it inside, those things can come out when we play drama. Reduces shame, build social skills, especially when it comes to building social skill. Drama therapy works a lot because you are role playing, so you can become a stranger, and you can actually uh, teach the child skills of how to talk to a stranger, or maybe a peer, how they can talk in the classroom, how they can talk, how they can behave. All that can actually be very important. Okay, some example says, show me how your day looks like using puppets. Okay, so instead of asking them how was your day, they can use puppet to actually enact how the day was. Okay, so they will use the puppets, and then tell the whole description about it. Act out a story with alternative endings. Okay, so one story having different endings. Okay, and children are very good in giving alternative endings. Role play, difficult situation, hero's journey. Okay, superhero's journey. They will all like and prefer. Queen's story, Cinderella story, all that. So they will become part of it, and they can actually enact their own story in the whole region. Music therapy. Music also is a very important, using rhythm, instruments, songwriting, listening. Okay, this is also very good expressive therapy. Now, why it works? Rhythm regulates nervous system. When mothers can understand, when we are putting child to sleep, there is a rhythm. You know, so they even initially, even for taking them to toilet, some mothers, they will use rhythm. Okay, because that rhythm relaxes. Okay, so we can use rhythm in certain way to actually bring out certain emotion, and help them to connect. So music helps in emotional expression. Okay, helps in emotional regulation and calming, especially important to children, those who are having developmental issues, developmental delay, neurological issues, autistic children. Music therapy actually can be a medium to connect and communicate. Okay, some example can be drumming circle, jamming, like the child plays a rhythm, you also play a rhythm, so they so that also can be a very good way to connect with the child. Creating a happy song. Okay, just simply, they will can create something out of it. It may make no sense, but it is their way of expression, and that can become their happy song. Using rhythm to express anger or being calm. Okay, so different ways to bring the emotion out, or also to calm the child. So music therapy also can be used in different ways. And then finally comes movement and dance therapy. Okay, body movement, gesture, postures. Why it is used? Trauma is stored in the body. Okay, so many children who have gone through trauma, you can see very restricted body movement. So dance therapy can actually, that movement can bring out the emotion out in the open. So movement helps releases tension and emotion. It builds body awareness. Okay, some example is freeze dance. Okay, they will be dancing and suddenly freeze, and dancing and then freezing. So and also mirroring, dance mirror. Where they do a certain dance movement, and you also move accordingly. It's a very good way to build rapport. Body sculpting feeling. So sometimes you can give emotion a dance movement or a movement. So they, if they are like angry, they can show, okay, what you're feeling now, can you show? So they will show like, okay, they are angry. So all that movement, using movement to bring out those emotions. Stress release movement sequence. So you can give some sequence where they feel they are able to regulate their stress. Okay, like for example, some children, when they go through stress, the movement therapist will say, okay, why don't you become like a bird, and try it as though you're flying, all the things, and all the stress is going, everything is evaporating. So that movement also can be very calming. Okay, so yeah, then finally, storytelling and bibliography. Okay, using stories, sometimes books, creative narratives. Okay, storytelling also is very powerful. Okay, stories help children process complex emotion. Children identifies with character. You can also, especially with AI now, children can actually create new books, stories about the, from their own perspective. Now this helps in grief, anxiety, trauma, behavior issues. Reading a story, asking the child, drawing the end. Okay, so that is also writing a letter to fear. Okay, creating alternative endings to stressful situation. Now these are some of the example of bibliotherapy or storytelling. Okay, yeah. So I'm done. Okay, so this is what is about counseling children. I hope you understand. It's a huge topic. It's something too much to actually bring it, but all these are very important aspect when you are looking at counseling children and to connect with the children. And if we can incorporate that in our counseling style, you know the best strategy is to build rapport, and through that rapport lot can be done. And always think out of the box when you are connecting with the child. Okay, any questions or doubts before we wind up for the day? I'm sorry for taking so much of time.
So usually a session will go up to 1 hour, 40 minutes.
Okay,
How is that?
it depends. I will say minimum is good. So don't stress the child, don't keep the time limit. Sometimes a child can get tired in 30 minutes, it's completely okay. So keep child in focus, and when you see the child is getting little tired,
Distracted.
then stop it. Or engage in something, because how much you put child in one place, that much
Mm,
interest will come down. So
yeah.
if they are moving, if there is lot of expressive therapy, then they will engage in different things. So always keep multiple options, and then see how the child is. And let's say the child comes with a completely, you have rapport, but they come with a completely disinterested mind, then you understand something is happening. Like for example, many parents, they bring child for counseling after the school, so they
Mhm.
are already tired in the school.
Good.
Then
Totally
what you
tired.
expect?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
all that also becomes very important aspect, how long you can take or see the child.
Mm. And also the therapy methods that we use, it's based on the interest of the child, right? Whether they
Yes,
like
yes,
music, whether
but
they like.
you can become confident in your own way. Some things are natural for
Okay.
you. We need to
Uh-huh. Yeah.
identify what is naturally coming. Some people are good storytellers, some people are good with art, some
Mm.
people are good with dance. So we need to look at our strength and then engage accordingly.
So, is there some reading material on these kind of like some books that you can tell us that?
There are, I may pass on one book, especially from the theoretical perspective, because I was not able to pick it. So you can read upon that, and then there are certain aspects, especially ethical aspect, I didn't pick it up. So there are a lot of different areas when
Okay,
it comes to children. I will send a book, and some notes so that you can actually read upon.
that'll be great, Sachin. Thank
Sir,
So
kindly
thank you.
suggest some few questions we should ask before counseling session.
Um,
you.
See, I will say that, see, problem of giving questions is when you meet a child, you will use that question. Now, some question works for me, that question may not work for you, because I have a style, I have a pattern, so I use that pattern for. It is better not to use, not to depend on language. Okay, depend on movement. I will always suggest, be ready to move, be ready to engage with the child. Okay, and then slowly use the child's language. So once you identify how the child is talking, use their own language, so they will only frame the sentences. Okay, and use the same frame to use sentences or question back to them. So always customize according to children,
Good.
because our questions may be from the adult perspective, which may not work with the child.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so
Thank you
I
so
will
much.
wind up for now and we'll meet next week, and hopefully I will be able to finish in 1.5 hours. But let's see. Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
Thank
sir.
care.
you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.